Hey, good morning. Good morning. How is everybody doing? So I live here in Phoenix, Arizona, and I have to tell you, I can't believe when I think of the weather here in Phoenix. I'm curious to know where you guys are located. It's 46 degrees here in Phoenix, which is beautiful weather. It's perfect shorts and t-shirt weather, in my opinion. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts? I'm really excited to get on this morning. I love getting on. I love making a difference. I really love sharing something that, quite honestly, is making a big difference in people's lives. Insulin resistance is something that affects 93% of us, and most people have no idea. Florida here, and you're cold. What's the temperature there? I know that there's a lot of people on the East Coast that's getting hit with that storm. So I hope that you're able to stay warm. But yeah, that's what I love about Arizona, right? Arizona is usually not. I mean, people say that it's hot, and it is hot, but if you can get past the 100-degree temperatures in the summer year round, the weather is absolutely perfect, in my opinion. Some of you may have been to Arizona before, and you're like, nope, probably low 30s. I haven't seen the weather this morning. Gotcha. Well, I'm excited to get on this morning. I love getting on and sharing something that can make a big impact. Okay. And if there's anyone on here that happens to be struggling with your health, okay, I want you guys to understand that you're not alone. Okay. And I want you to listen closely, because for most people, this is the first time it's ever been explained clearly. Okay. So, William Tell, I appreciate you sharing. I'm not sure what that has anything to do with the insulin resistance, but I didn't hear that. But there's so many crazy things in law enforcement right now. It's so crazy. What's funny is I actually, that was my goal. My goal was to become a police officer, and I'm actually grateful that I'm not doing that. And quite honestly, I feel like I make more of an impact helping people doing this than I ever would. But, most people don't have a weight problem, right? Most people don't have a discipline problem, okay? They do not have a motivation problem. They have an insulin problem, and no one ever told them. Now, if you feel tired after meals, if you crave snacks even when you just ate, if you are gaining weight, doing all the right things, okay, if your blood pressure, cholesterol, or A1C is creeping up, okay, This is not aging. This is not genetics. This is insulin resistance. And if any of that sounds like you, type me in the chat, because it helps me to know how many people are affected by this. So if that's you, if you resonate with that, type me in the chat. Jazzy jazz. So let me say something that might challenge what you have been told. You know, if calories were the real problem, dieting would have worked by now. If eating less fixed this, you would already be there. I believed the same thing for years, right? I thought that I just needed more discipline, more willpower, or more control. But the reality is that my body kept pushing back. And let me ask you this. Have you ever felt like your body was fighting you? Yes or no? Balance with Kathy, good morning. But have you ever felt like your body was fighting you? If you wouldn't mind, type yes or no in the chat. I love these little back scratchers. So wonderful to get that spot that you just can't seem to reach. You got the claws on here to scratch your back. It's fantastic. Thank you, Kathy. So, I mean, think about this. You know, we were raised in a fat-free, calorie-counting era, right? We were told to, you know, eat every 2 to 3 hours. Okay, we were told to snack, right, to always keep our metabolism high. We were told to avoid fat. We were told to count everything, right? And look where that got us. More fatigue, more inflammation, more medications. And the advice that we were given did not fail because people failed. It failed because it ignored hormones. And I'm curious, were you ever taught to eat every few hours growing up? Probably yes or no. Were you taught to eat every few hours growing up, right? To keep your metabolism high, right? They call this the calories in, the calories out approach, right? To eat 3 meals a day and a snack 2 to 3 times throughout the day. That advice is actually partially why 93% of our country is metabolically unfit. Because people don't know what they don't know, right? We were given a lot of the unfortunate bad advice that is part of the reason why 93% of people are metabolically unfit. It's crazy to think how many people are affected by these health issues, right? And, one of the reasons why I absolutely love getting on here is because most people actually have no idea what insulin resistance is. Nobody's ever talked to them about it. Doctors don't even address it, And it's crazy to think that this is something that affects the majority of us. And yet hardly anybody knows what it is because nobody talked about it. And if you are somebody who is struggling with your health in some way, this information could change your life. And if there's somebody that you know that needs to hear this, feel free to share this live so that they can hop on, they can listen, they can ask questions. My hope and my prayer is what I share helps you to avoid the same mistakes that I've made. Now, I was taught, right? I was an athlete growing up, and I was taught to eat 2 to 3 meals a day and a snack, have something small, right? Eat a bunch of small meals, keep your metabolism high. Well, here is the simple version, okay? Insulin is a storage hormone, right? Every time you eat, your insulin rises, especially with sugar, processed foods, and if we're constantly snacking all the time. When insulin stays high in your body, ladies and gentlemen, your body can't burn fat. It can't access the stored energy. And so you get hungry, you get tired, you crave. How many of you crave sugar or sweet, salty foods, especially late at night? You know, it's crazy when I'm driving and I drive past the In-N-Out and it's midnight. I'm not driving usually that late, but from like 10 o'clock to, well after midnight, that line at In-N-Out is long. And I've eaten there before, but how many of us are craving food even late at night? So what happens when we do this? We get hungry, we get tired, and we start craving food all the time. Who here gets hungry again an hour after eating? Okay. Daisy, it's a really good question. And my short answer is what I'm sipping on. Okay, I skip breakfast. Believe it or not, your body actually runs better when you don't eat first thing in the morning. You know, how many of us grew up believing and being told that breakfast was the most important meal of the day? Right? I want you guys to understand, Raymond, good morning. I want you guys to understand that first meal of the day, whether that happens at 8 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock at night, is the most important meal that you'll have, because whatever you eat first, whether it's in the morning or at night, will set the tone for the rest of your day, right? How many of us are eating, a bowl of cereal or a bunch of carbs, okay, first thing in the morning, okay? How many of you, that's the first thing that we eat, right? Arani says, I'm insulin resistance and take over 100. Wow. And let me ask you, are you a type 2 diabetic? Here's my professional opinion. Okay. I want you guys to understand something here. Okay. A type 1 diabetic and a type 2 diabetic they're diabetics, right? But there's a difference between the two. A type 1 diabetic needs insulin, right? Because they have an autoimmune disease that is attacking their pancreas. So they have to get insulin, because without it, they could die. Tasha, good morning. The reality, though, is that a type 2 diabetic should never be given insulin. Folks, you're type 2 because your insulin is already high, and now we're giving you more insulin. Here's what I would encourage you. Get off your insulin as soon as you possibly can. Work with your doctor to get you off of it. You don't need more insulin, folks. We're insulin resistant because our insulin is already high. This is where I want to get personal with you. I didn't get into this business because it was trendy, right? I was somebody who donated a kidney to my brother-in-law back in November of 2014. It was 7 years later when I was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease. I had stage 4 kidney disease. My dad passed away early. My brother unfortunately took his own life when he was 33 years old, and that was January of 2005. No diabetes in my family. But after donating a kidney, 7 years later, my health was falling apart. And no one ever sat me down and said, hey, no one ever explained this to me. It was a friend who used to be a former rocket scientist who reached out to me and shared with me what insulin resistance is. I had no idea what it was. You know, my doctor actually prescribed a medication. It didn't help. I was doing what I was told, right? I was eating often, right? I was avoiding fat like we were told to do, right? I was trying to be healthy, right? But my body was drowning in insulin. And Rainey, I want you to understand that you can actually improve and fix type 2 diabetes, and you can get yourself off of the insulin. Insulin is not going to help you. It's actually going to make things worse. My body was drowning in insulin. And at the end of the day, the majority of human beings have what is called insulin resistance. In fact, your body is literally swimming in insulin. There's two things that are happening. Your cells become resistant to insulin, and you're swimming in it. It's called hyperinsulinemia. Okay, folks, we don't need more insulin, okay, at all. The reality is that you've got too much. And when I finally learned how insulin worked, everything changed, which is exactly why I teach the Feel Great system. It's exactly why I get on here and I share a natural solution to the biggest health problem in the world. If you feel like doctors never explained the why, comment never told me. Put in the chat never told me if you feel like your doctors never explained the why. And what I mean by the why, it's understanding why our body is reacting the way that it is, why we're having these health issues, right? Has your doctor ever told you why your A1C is high? Why your cholesterol is high? And on top of that, why we're putting you on a statin, right? Folks, I want you guys to understand, we have a solution to the biggest health problem in the world. Zoo did too. Where are you located? Folks, we have a solution to the problem of insulin resistance, and hardly anybody knows about it. Here's the shift, okay? Calories do not count and control hormones. Your hormones control calories. You can still eat less and still gain weight if your insulin stays high. Airsoft Kid, thank you for being on. Okay, but when insulin calms down, guess what else calms down? Your hunger. Susie K, isn't that crazy? And by the way, what I'm sipping on is a natural metformin. Does the same thing. Folks, when you do that, when you improve insulin sensitivity, right? When you reverse insulin resistance, your energy comes back. FAT loss becomes possible again. This isn't about eating less. Okay? This is about eating smarter. Does this already make sense than anything that you've ever been told? If you wouldn't mind putting yes or no in the chat, if you feel like what you're being, I mean, quite honestly, in my opinion, this is information that I feel like doctors should be teaching us, but they don't. So, folks, what I use personally and what I guide people through now focuses on three things: stabilizing your blood sugar, reducing the constant insulin spikes, and supporting the gut and your metabolism naturally. There's no starvation, there's no extreme workouts, there's no cutting an entire food groups out. Folks, it is structured system that is built around timing fiber and metabolic support, okay? And user 153, you know, that's one of the most amazing things when you start to improve your body, is that your body can heal itself. Our bodies are powerful. Our bodies really can heal itself if we give it the right environment. The problem is most people don't realize that we are poisoning ourselves by what we eat, how often we eat, right? Think about what we drink every single day. How often are we snacking, right? Are we snacking throughout the day? Are we eating the 3 meals a day, right? This is, I call this the, let me see if I can find this. Man, there's so many pictures in here. I call this the standard American diet, right? Because this is what the reality is, right? I mean, this is the root of today's health struggles, right? How many of you have frequent urination at night? How many of you are tired after eating? How many of you have achy joints? How many of you are pre-diabetic? Joe says, I had pancreatitis in 04 and was told I tried all the outlets around the pancreas, so I don't produce insulin, been on insulin pump for years. And Joe, are you a type 1 or type 2? Type 1 or type 2? Okay. How many of you have skin tags? Right? You guys realize that skin tags are a sign of insulin resistance? Everything that I've mentioned, diabetes, the C word that we celebrate in September, PCOS, fatty liver disease, heart disease, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, obesity, right? Neuropathy, erectile dysfunction. Folks, you realize that every single one of those symptoms that I just mentioned are all caused by one thing. You want to know what my biggest frustration is? Is that far too often we are just throwing medications at our symptoms. Throwing medications at our symptoms, folks, does not fix the root cause. It doesn't. Folks, I want you to understand that type 2 diabetes can be reversed. It's reversible because insulin resistance is reversible. The reality is that 90%, I want you guys to think about something for a second. 90% of all the chronic issues that exist today could be eliminated if we just focused on one area. And that's focusing on the root cause. I want you to think of insulin resistance like a fire that is burning out of control in your body, right? Just like how smoke signals that there is a fire, all of these symptoms that you and I experience, they're all the symptoms. That's the smoke to the fire. In 5 months, I reversed stage 4 kidney disease, folks. I lost 32 pounds. Migraines that I had for 23 years went away. My acid reflux, my brain fog, all of this went away. Now, why is that important? It's important because 93% of us are struggling with insulin resistance. This is exactly why I teach the Feel Great system, because it is simple, it is easy, it is safe. It's been around for over 30 years and hardly anybody even knows about it. And if what I share with you resonates with you, if it helps you to understand what insulin resistance is, if anything, I hope that what I share with you gives you hope. Because if you're struggling with your health, this could change your life. And if you know somebody who is struggling with their health, feel free to share this live with them. Joe, you don't need, here's what I would do, work with your doctor. You can actually improve and reverse type 2. I've seen it in hundreds of people that I personally know. 100%. There are people that I know that are on disability that are, they get $1,200 a month and they can afford this. Folks, I want you guys to understand, I am not here to push this on you. What I do is I teach 3 things: fasting, fiber, and making sure that you've got the right tools. The tool that I use is a simple nutraceutical. How many of you are familiar to Rexall drugs? How many of you remember Rexall? Some of you might have relatives that may have worked for them for Rexall way back in the day. Way back in the 1980s, early 1990s, the scientists and doctors of Rexall created a blend of fiber. And the reason why they created this blend of plant-based fiber is because the food industry here in the United States started intentionally removing fiber from our foods. Folks, I want you to understand that fiber is important. We need fiber. The reality is that you and I aren't getting enough of it. And now when the food industry starts taking it out of our food, it increases the shelf life. I want you to remember something. When the shelf life of your food goes up, your lifespan goes down. Insulin resistance can actually shorten your lifespan. Just Lori, I just want to provide information, right? 93% of people are affected by insulin resistance. And the reality, Just Lori, is that most of the people are going to the doctor and they're paying for medications that don't work. And maybe your insurance is paying for it, but somebody's paying for medications that ultimately don't work. So absolutely, I'm going to share something that not only is clinically proven, it is also listed in the same PDR that your doctor's prescribing medications to you from. I love it when somebody comes onto this live and says, so this leads to purchasing something. You're missing the point on what can fix and help improve insulin resistance. This is the reason why I don't work with everyone. I don't work with people who want a quick fix. I work with people who are tired of spinning their wheels. I work with people who are tired of dealing with one more medication after another. I love it when people come on my live and say, oh, this information leads to another sale. You don't have to buy what I'm selling. You don't. Nobody's forcing you to do anything. But what I'm using, we are the only company in the world that has a natural solution to the problem that is listed in the same PDR that doctors prescribe from, and nobody knows about it. Folks, if you knew how valuable this was, and on top of that, the company, the manufacturer, gives everyone who is willing to try it a 90-day risk-free trial. You have nothing to lose by utilizing it. And folks, if it doesn't work, you literally get your money back. If you have a doctor that you trust, your doctor can look up every single clinical study that has been done utilizing this tea and this fiber matrix. It has been around for over 30 years, and the majority of you have no idea that this even exists because, again, your doctor is not talking to you about a natural solution. Your doctor is talking to you about putting you on a statin or metformin or some other kind of medication to maybe help you lose weight, maybe help you sleep, maybe bring your blood pressure, your cholesterol down, improve your diabetes, right? Do you feel like they're managing it or fixing it? And if you want to fix it, give yourself 90 days. What I love about this structured system, it is built around timing fiber and metabolic support, okay? And let me say this, if structure would help you to stay consistent, type structure in the chat. Now, I want to be clear, okay? I do not work with everyone, okay? Like I said, I do not help people that are looking for quick fixes. If there's people that want to stay in the same habits, okay? Folks, I help people who are ready to understand their body and work with it. And if you want details later, you can message me the word ready, right? I'm happy to connect with each and every one of you. There's no pressure, there's no guessing, there's no, not knowing what this is. 93% of people have insulin resistance. How many of you have ever heard of the Cleveland Clinic? The Cleveland Clinic is the #1 heart hospital in the world. They studied this blend of plant-based fibers. And their concluding statement was that if people use this regularly, it would decrease cardiovascular disease on a population basis, and it would decrease the need for lipid-lowering prescription MEDs. You guys realize that there are millions of people around the world that are on medications. Now, here's the truth every single time you and I eat food. Every time we eat, especially sugar and especially carbs, it spikes our blood sugar. And when your blood sugar goes up, it causes your insulin to go up. Insulin is a fat storing hormone, okay? It is not your friend. Insulin is not your friend, okay? Insulin is the gatekeeper to our cells, okay? It's what allows the glucose to move from our bloodstream into our cells, right? Your body will literally use this as energy, right? This is the energy that powers your brain, your organs, right? Folks, I learned about this 2.5 years after being told that I had stage 4 kidney disease. I had stage 4, Irene. The only thing that I changed was adding this. I haven't changed what I eat. I eat 1 to 2 meals a day, and that is it. I don't snack throughout the day. I eat 1 to 2 meals a day. When I wake up in the morning, what I do is I make this chlorogenic acid tea. This yerba mate tea is loaded with chlorogenic acid and theobromine. Theobromine is a natural mood booster, right? It helps, it gives you that good feeling, which is what you get when you drink coffee and what you get when you have dark chocolate, right? Chlorogenic acid is a novel insulin sensitizer. It's what helps to lower your blood sugar, your insulin, okay? This has 375 times more chlorogenic acid than you would get in a regular cup of coffee. Folks, this is why I share this. I work with people who are tired. And folks, if you happen to be in the United States, you can use your HSA or FSA. A common question that I get is about pregnancy and gestational diabetes. If you are pregnant, you shouldn't do intermittent fasting, right? But you can still use the system to manage the glucose spikes and your cravings, right? This is especially important during pregnancy. And here's something that most people don't realize, right? You can be thin and still be insulin resistant, right? High blood pressure, migraines, skin tags, cholesterol issues, sleep apnea, and brain fog can all be signs of insulin resistance, even without weight gain, right? This isn't about willpower. It's about hormones. Most of us were told to move more and eat less, right? That calorie in, calorie out model sounds logical, but the body does not work like a math equation, right? When calories are restricted long-term, folks, metabolism slows, right? Your muscle is lost, energy drops. And what happens is your hormone function starts to decline. Some of these studies go back over 100 years ago. And when you fast and when you go longer periods without eating, glucose spikes don't spike. SAS, I was talking about gestational diabetes, but it's, PCOS, erectile dysfunction, it's all caused by the same thing. Joe, cinnamon, I don't take cinnamon. I do take a little apple cider vinegar. I love this yerba mate tea. I love it. It is safe, it's natural. It does the exact same things as these medications do and often work better. There's no side effects. Fasting is one of the most powerful things that you can do to start healing your gut and start to help you to become insulin sensitive again, which is the key here, right? The key is to help you to become insulin sensitive again. 93% of us are insulin resistant. Thank you, Sassy Bonjo. I like your name, by the way. Right? There's three. Let's talk about macronutrients for just a quick second, right? We've got three of them. We've got protein, fats, and carbohydrates. But which one of those is not essential? Right? Protein and fat are essential, right? Carbohydrates are not. Because guess what? Your body can create glucose from your stored FAT when insulin is low. That is how FAT loss actually happens. You guys realize that, right? Fiber is one of the most powerful tools that we have because fiber doesn't turn into glucose. It forms a gel in the stomach that helps to slow the digestion down. It reduces the glucose spikes from any foods that you eat. This is actually why eating fiber, right, before or with your meals, okay, is so effective. And Sassy Banjo, where are you located, if you don't mind me asking? And Sassy Banjo, I would love to connect with you. Okay. If you wouldn't mind, if you will fill this out, I would love to connect with you. What part of Tennessee are you in? I live in Arizona. I actually dated a girl in Murfreesboro, but my sister and my mom live right outside of Maryville. In fact, my mom's my sister lives in Maryville, and my mom happens to be in a memory care facility. Oh, sweet. I know exactly where Norris Lake is. Yeah, when I go and visit my mom, that's where I fly into is Knoxville. But Sassy Banjo, I would love to connect with you. Folks, when fiber is removed from food, blood sugar spikes and your insulin rises. Araini, please fill out the form. If there's anyone that wants to stay in touch and wants to connect, right, I would love to connect with you. Okay? Folks, I want you guys to understand, and I've got just a few more minutes, okay? Sassy, if you've already filled it out, you don't have to do it again. But folks, I want you guys to understand, you can fix insulin resistance. And you can do this without diets, without a laundry list of MEDs, right? Without feeling like you have to go and do 2 days at the gym. I reversed stage 4 kidney disease, sipping this tea and taking this fiber before my largest meal. That is it. That is how simple this is. It is easier than any diet that anybody's ever done. And folks, we can prove that this works with your own blood work. I'm encouraging people to just try it for 90 days. If it doesn't work, I will personally help you to get your money back. And by the way, if you decide to buy it, you'll be connected with me. I will jump on a phone call with you. I will literally walk you step by step on how to use the system. It's the easiest thing you'll ever do. And if you have a doctor that you trust, that has your best interests at hand, your doctor can actually look up these two products in the PDR. They can see all the clinical studies. They can see that this works. Folks, we are literally the only company in the world that has these two natural tools that are listed in the same PDR that doctors are prescribing statins and metformin and Ozempic and everything else you can think of. There's no side effects. There's no contraindications. Folks, it works with your biology, not against it. The problem today is not a lack of willpower. Hunger is stronger than willpower. This is why tools like fasting support and fiber are important, because when hunger is controlled hormonally, healthy choices become a lot easier for us. And what I love about how simple this system is that it supports liver detoxification. It improves insulin sensitivity. It nourishes the gut microbiome, which is where 80% of your immune system is. Right? When the gut heals, cravings change, inflammation drops, your hormones start to normalize. And I want you guys to think of insulin resistance like a flooded basement. Okay? Your blood glucose might look fine on the surface, but underneath insulin is working overtime, right? And treating symptoms without fixing insulin resistance is like adding chemicals to a dirty fish tank instead of just changing the water. When insulin stays high, your body can't burn FAT. When insulin comes down, guess what your body burns naturally? What about anxiety, depression, PCOS, erectile dysfunction, migraines, skin issues, inflammation, high cholesterol, high blood pressure? They're all connected to insulin resistance. And this tea that I'm sipping on is made from purified yerba mate and contains concentrated chlorogenic acid. It reduces oxidative stress dramatically, which actually slows the aging, right? There was somebody who made a comment about wrinkles, right? Oxidative stress ages us. This reduces that. It reduces inflammation that are caused by high glucose levels. It is plant-based. It is gentle. It is safe to use long-term. Kids love it. Now, I'm not a doctor, and anyone on medication should consult their doctor. That said, I have personally seen hundreds of people come off diabetes and blood pressure and cholesterol medications as insulin resistance improves. Right? I have a friend who worked as a cardiac rehab director for over 10 years, never seen results like this. This works with any diet, whether you're on a carnivore or vegan or fast food, it meets you where you are. And over time, as your gut heals, guess what? Your body naturally starts craving better foods. And when you treat the root cause, honestly, when you I can't even talk today, treat the root cause, right? The symptoms will start to fade away. You put that fire out, the smoke will disappear. Folks, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. Tap the screen, send the hearts. If you want details or discounts, folks, if you're open to using what it is that I've been using since January of 2024, this literally could change your life. And if it doesn't, you can always go back to where you started. You lose nothing. What is so frustrating for me is seeing people that I love and care about being placed on more medications. Medications don't fix the root cause, folks. They treat the symptoms. And when you go to a doctor, they test what they can medicate. What I help is I teach what insulin resistance is. When you have skin issues and, right, we've got excess belly fat that we can't seem to lose, right? Where 54% of the United States population is diabetic or pre-diabetic. 3 out of 4 individuals are overweight or obese. Most of us are walking around on medications. And what I teach people is how to fix insulin resistance naturally. And folks, if this resonates with you, if this sounds like what you have been looking for and praying for, you don't have to wait, right? My LINK is in my bio, okay? It's $5 a day to try something that can make the biggest difference. It's less than what a coffee would cost. It's less than what you would spend on a meal. And the idea, folks, is that you're investing it back into your health. If you have an HSA or FSA, you don't even have to come out of pocket. You can use your HSA or FSA to get this. I sip on this every single day. I carry it everywhere I go. Kelly, thank you for that. Folks, insulin resistance affects us all. Unfortunately, the majority of us we're just throwing medications at our symptoms without fixing the root cause. Snowstir, how you doing this morning? I've got just another minute or two, but are there any questions that you have? If you wouldn't mind, put that in the chat. And if you want what it is that I'm using, send me a private message. I'm happy to send you the details. And folks, fasting and fiber are 2 simple things that you can do. There's no purchase required, right? Start fasting, start skipping a meal. Just watch how your energy levels will come up. I love that, right? When you fast, it is the quickest way to regulate and get your insulin levels under control. When your insulin comes down, inflammation comes down. Everything starts to improve. And this is why I teach this. If you're looking for a natural way to improve your health that doesn't require meds or diets, you just found it, folks. I'm living proof that you can fix and improve even stage 4 kidney disease. I lost 32 pounds. My migraines of 23 years went away. My acid reflux, brain fog, sleep apnea, all of this improved. Snell Store, I love it. Folks, thank you for being on this live this morning. I appreciate that. If there's anything that I can do to help, don't hesitate to ask, okay? I wish I knew about this 21 years ago. My brother would still be here. My dad would still be here. You know, my mom is 85 years old and she lives in an assisted living, and it just breaks my heart that there's nothing that I can do to help her, unfortunately. If this resonates with you, don't wait, folks. Okay. If you want to jump on a call, I'm happy to do so. Okay. But guys, love and appreciate each and every one of you for showing up this morning. Thank you to those that were sharing this, that were tapping the screen. I appreciate that. Okay. You know, the majority of us were lied, right? Unfortunately. But I hope that you guys have an amazing day. And if any one of you want to connect, you want to take a screenshot of this, okay? And Joe, send me a message and I'll respond to you with it, okay? Appreciate each and every one of you guys. I hope you guys have a blessed day. But Joe, send me a message.